So let's continue with my visit around about my library of books. Actually, apologies for this Christmas jumper. It's a bit strange because you would never think a Christmas jumper would make you actually blend into the background, but it seems to blend in with all of the books, so I'm not too happy with that. Just a wee second. Yeah, I think that's a bit better. I never thought I would be able to use a Christmas jumper as camouflage. So we're going to talk through the physics books. Now, physics is not really my subject. I enjoy physics as, in effect, my look at it as a branch of applied mathematics. So I don't really come from physics to mathematics. I come from mathematics to the physics. But I do have a few books which I've accumulated over the years. A lot of them are actually quite recent, over the last 2 or 3 years, when I've had time to really spend a bit more time on some physics. But I'll go through the books the same as I did for the maths books. Now, these are brand new. I've only just received these at Christmas. Now, they're the Leonard Suskin books. The first one, I don't have the first one here because I'm in the process of reading it at the moment. It's in the other room. So the first one of the series is in Classical Mechanics, but they're really quite simple books, and again they're called the theoretical minimum. And if you've already done some maths or some physics, then you could go through them relatively quickly. And I'm enjoying reading the very first one at the moment, so I would recommend these. Again, not full book reviews, but worthwhile having a look at them online. So, and again, the first one's on classical mechanics. Lagrangians and Hamiltonians, it's an okay book that's difficult. It's a kind of difficult subject to get into. This was the first book I ever bought on this subject matter, and it sat on my shelf for 2 or 3 years, and I used to pick it down, have a look at it, and think, yeah, don't really understand that. And I had to spend a bit of time working through some books in calculus of variations, and once I worked through calculus of variations and I come back to this, this was relatively straightforward. It was okay. So it's a reasonable book as an introduction to Lagrangians and Hamiltonians, and in fact the next course I'm putting online, and obviously the videos, most of the videos will be on the YouTube channel as well, will be on Lagrangian and Hamiltonian mechanics. Let's see, these are again just random. Dynamical theory of the electromagnetic field. So this is work of obviously James Clerk Maxwell, the greatest Scottish physicist and mathematician ever to have lived, and possibly one of the greatest if you were to count him in amongst Newton and Einstein. And I would add in James Clerk Maxwell with those two names. And again, it's a description of his classic papers on electromagnetic field theory. So, a decent read. Again, if I had that many years ago, in fact, I can see down at the bottom here, there's a little mark on it which suggests it's possibly a library book. Okay, we'll move on quickly. Again, a relatively new one that I got, a most incomprehensible thing. So covering again the general relativity. So it goes through some special relativity, and then it's a guide to general relativity, and it's a layman's or a beginner's guide, which was pretty perfect for me. So that's a decent book as well for starting on the general theory of relativity. And I also have an older book here, which Classical Electromagnetism via Relativity, which I've had sit in my bookshelf for a good number of years. I can't remember where I got it from, but it's someone borrowed this book from me years ago, because they were writing a book on electromagnetism and relativity, and they were hunting for this book and they couldn't find it anywhere. And I just mentioned, he just happened to mention he'd been looking for this book, and I said, I think I've got that on my shelf. So he was able to borrow this book, and I got it back about a year later. But again, I can't really critique this book at all, because I've only read small sections of it, and that was a good number of years ago, when I was big into electromagnetics. Emily Noether's Wonderful Theorem, also a wonderful book, and some of the ideas and conclusions and a few examples from this book will possibly appear, different examples, slightly changed, will appear on my course on Lagrangian and Hamiltonian mechanics. So Noether's theorem will appear in this, and this is a fantastic book as well, written by someone who obviously just loves the subject and wants everyone else to love it as well. So hats off to Dwight E. Neuenschwander. Good. Let's see. Principles of electrodynamics. Again, you can see it is almost brand new. It's about 3 weeks ago I picked this up, so I can't give any critique on it, other than to say that whenever I buy a book, I don't just buy them randomly. I do spend time hunting online and checking all the reviews to get roughly what I'm looking for, but I won't get round to covering any of this book, probably not at all this year. It'll be sometime next year. Let's see what else we have. We have a book here, The Story of James Clerk Maxwell. Okay, so this is just, it's called The Story of James Clerk Maxwell. I don't have the cover of it. Again, one of my scientific heroes. So a good book and a detailed read on his life. So it's not really a technical book as such. Let's see what we've got here. Oh yes. Cornelius Lanksos, I think that's how you pronounce it. Variational Principles of Mechanics. If you're interested in the variational principles of mechanics or any classical mechanics, this is the book you want to buy. It is fantastic. It is fantastic. I've gone through it cover to cover, and I've had to go back and go through it again and again in order to understand. And every single page, there's something new each time you read over it again. So if you're going to buy any book on variational mechanics, then you want to buy this book on variational mechanics. Let's see what we've got. Here's another one. Fundamental Physics, Halliday and Resnick. Again, this goes back to my undergraduate days, and this was 1991, I think. I'll have bought this, and again, it's a standard textbook on undergraduate physics. It's not highly detailed in terms of mathematics. It's just, you know, some basic. If you've got basic high school calculus, then you can work through this book, and there's a vast amount of information in it. And again, this is 1991. But you could buy this book again today and it's just as fresh. So again, I pick it up now and again, and I just pick up a section and I have a little read through it just at random, just stuff that I happen to be interested at that moment in time. Let me see what we got. Let's see. the physics of golf. Now I will be putting a course together on the physics of golf, and I've covered a lot of the work already because I've done the work on the double pendulum, which is in the Calculus of Variations course. So we'll have to take the double pendulum and then we'll extend it to, in effect, will become a forced double pendulum, and add in a few other things as well, in order to cover basically the physics of golf. Interesting book, and it's the go-to book if you're interested in the physics of golf. Of course, whenever I put a course together, hopefully my course will be the go-to place if you're interested in the physics of golf. Classical Mechanics, relatively new, a couple of years old. A couple of years ago got this. Another fantastic book. It's written in a really readable style, and it's just really full of loads and loads of examples. So there's a great section on Lagrangian mechanics, and there's also an addendum added online, which is the last chapter. It's not in this book, but it is online, which covers Hamiltonian mechanics. So I've used both of those sections as well as a kind of lead in to my course in Lagrangian and Hamiltonian mechanics. So let's see. Oh, here we go. Higher core physics. Now this looks like a relative new book, but I actually bought it quite a few years ago, and it's the original book I had was my higher physics, which I did way back in 1987, and this is the course notes. And the reason why I bought this was in order to teach students some physics. So I was doing some teaching maths and physics to high school pupils in order to make a bit extra money, and also for the sheer fun of it. So I got this book in order to brush up on some of my basic high school physics. Oh yes, 3 books here from the Open University on Maxwell's, on electromagnetics. So we've got electromagnetism, and we've got waves, and we've got one on fields. Now we'll just take a look inside one of these, and just to give you an indication of how fantastic the Open University course notes are, well, here's an example here. I'll try and get around here if you can get a view of the detail that's in it and the graphics. It's really a high quality textbook, and it's beautifully described. I've worked through the first book here. I haven't gone through the other 2. I was hoping to put on a course on electromagnetics, but if I was to actually be honest and say I've probably want to put on another 15 courses, but 15 courses is going to take me another 3 years or so to work through. So at some point in the future there will be a course on electromagnetics, but I will do the course so that it's not just the physics of electromagnetism. There'll be part of it will be a history of vector calculus, because I think that's important in order to understand the subject, and also there will be some of the original work of Maxwell, because his original work, if you go and read it, is just fantastic. They really should just take some of his original work and just reprint it. You don't need to add any other modern theme to it. It's something that's really brilliant. So that's that there. Of course, well, can you guess what's coming next? Can you? Yes, that's right. The Feynman lectures on physics. I hardly need to say anything about these. Pick them up and go and read them. Or if you're going to get a nice Christmas present and you're into physics, then you just tell them, say, look, everyone chip together and get me the Feynman lectures on physics. So I'm not going to talk my way through them. Beautiful books, fantastically put together by a leading physicist. Let's see what we've got. We've got a few other books here which I've not really covered. There's basic one in quantum mechanics, which is a very easy read. I mean, kind of high school mathematics, or maybe a little bit of calculus, and you can get through this quantum mechanics book. Of course, you don't become an expert by reading a book like this, but then maybe you don't want to become an expert, you just want to have some comprehension, and that's where I'm sitting at the moment. I just want a comprehension, and I kind of got into this by accident because the subject matters that I was interested in was really, I suppose it would be functional analysis, so it would be everything along the route of the Fourier and Laplace transforms, wavelet transforms, because I was big into signal processing. But that mathematics, the mathematics, for example, of the Fourier transform was directly applicable along with the calculus of variations and a bit of probability. And with those three areas, you're really covering your introduction to quantum mechanics. So I was well set up to actually jump in to this little book here, and it was very immediately comprehensible to me because I'd already covered some of the other basic mathematical areas that allowed me to cover this. Okay, so that's enough of that. I've got another one here, which is more a philosophical book, The Structure and Interpretation of Quantum Mechanics, which is again, it's a nice kind of philosophical read with a little bit of the mathematics in it as well. I do have a further book here which I intend to work through, which I haven't. I went through small sections of it, and this is the Shanker book on quantum mechanics. So I will be getting through a good bit of this this year after I've finished my course on Lagrangian and Hamiltonian mechanics, and also brushed up on a little bit of my probability. So another couple books, the 3 books here, which I've not really had time to use. I've bought them not that long ago. Book on mathematical physics. Again, these are like the Dover books, and I do love the Dover publications. So I'll be working through some of that. And there's the other one on theoretical physics. Again, it's the Dover book, and you can always go online and check the reviews of this book if you're interested. And finally, this is a nice one, Introduction to Einstein's Relativity. Okay, so it's covering the special and the general theory of relativity, and it's done in a it's not the most difficult book, mathematically, and it's well written, and it's a decent read. When I say that it's a decent read, I mean I've done about 4 chapters out of about 15 of it, but again, as an introduction, as a guide, it's another good book. So I've got a few physics books here that some of them I haven't touched, and I intend to work through sometime over the next couple of 2 or 3 years. I tend to rather than I wouldn't describe myself as being mad keen in physics. What I would say is I enjoy the mathematics, and I enjoy seeing the mathematics applied to the physical world. So I don't necessarily into the physics itself. I'm interested in the mathematics and the application of the mathematics to parts of the physical world. So that's the direction I go in. I don't start off from physics and want to understand physics. I start off from wanting to understand the mathematics and then seeing how that is applied. And the way it's applied in physics seems to be what is most of most interest to me, and that's why I create the video series on. A lot of the video series are on areas that would tend to pinge on in physics. So that's not all of the books. I do have other books there, but those are the main thrust of the books. That's maybe, you know, about 2/3 of the physics books I have sitting up there. Now I also have a lot of signal processing books, because signal processing was an area which I found really fascinating. When I say signal processing, again, I mean the mathematical theory of signal processing, although I do have some practical experience as well. So but that's all for this video. It's getting to on a bit. It's a bit long now. I'll leave it at that. I hope that was of value, and if you're interested in any of these books, or you would like me to critique some of the books a bit more, then you can always leave a message. So catch you later. Goodbye.